Michael Clark from the Road Trip, still in Quebec City, and we've just wrapped up today with the Prius V. And of course, the family is growing. And to tell us about that family is Vin Pham. He is the go-to for all things V. And I guess I have to ask the question: is V some sort of code for Vaganza, as an extravaganza for the amount of room that you've actually got in this new member of the family?
Yeah, we've got over 971 liters of space in the back of that Prius V. So V stands for versatility, and it's the Prius that's going to expand our family and give Canadians a choice to haul their items around and give them that sort of flexibility and choice of versatility when they need to, get to soccer games and hockey games and whatnot.
Now, the interesting thing here is that we're using very familiar powertrains in respect to the current Prius family, of course, the Prius liftback. So that was something that, of course, had concerned us at first, but there's some very interesting weight-saving materials and techniques used in the new V. Tell us how it's done.
Absolutely. The Prius V employs some pretty neat tricks with weight savings technology. For example, a lot of car companies today are using a lot of glass in their roofs. That gives it the cabin an open and spacious feel. The Prius V actually uses a polycarbonate resin roof, which is able to save about 38% mass up high rather than glass. So that's one way we were able to save some weight.
Now, of course, there's been concerns in respect to crash tests. For example, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety is using the roof crush test. Is there actually special tests that were done to this polycarbonate roof to make sure it will perform correctly in a crash?
Absolutely. Rollover tests, a lot of the load-bearing structures go into that high tensile strength steel that runs along the roof area. So there's over 980 megapascal high tensile steel that's actually run up along that roof area. So we would definitely look at the roof rollover protection for the occupants.
Now, the other thing, too, with the space inside, we're understanding that there's better than 50% increase in respect to actual usable space for the Prius V. And how exactly did you maximize the interior for that purpose?
Well, you can see immediately when you see the car, the roof line doesn't follow the Prius's traditional teardrop roof line. So we found a lot of space in that area, but also carving out some of the interior trim, making the wheelbase and track width wider. The vehicle is wider and longer than the Prius, so we were able to find a lot of space, and actually we're finding that our interior space is 80% is larger than 80% of the small compact SUVs out there.
Now, the interesting thing when I looked at the specifications is it's only about 200-ish pounds that we're actually seeing in regards to a weight gain.
Yeah, that's where the weight savings comes in, use of aluminum throughout the body panels. And there's not a lot of weight gain, but you get a lot of space. And the focus on weight gain is obviously fuel efficiency. So in using the Prius's powertrain, we're able to get the Prius V down to 4.6 liters per 100 kilometers combined. And that's not a highway rating or a city rating, that's combined, which is best in class in that category.
Well, I've got a little bit of a personal thing with hybrids, and I always tend to want to put them into the power mode, which is what I did today with the V. And actually, I will say that especially with the steep grades that we're dealing with, and in power mode, we were still able to get into the low fives.
That's pretty phenomenal. Like, our target is to provide consumers with real-world fuel consumption figures, and if you're getting really close to that label value, that's an impressive way to be driving the vehicle, because Canadians use their cars for any number of situations. So actually getting it down there is a pretty good achievement.
So I guess the question, of course, in respect to the rest of the Toyota line, especially when we think about vehicles like Venza, as well, there's been a little bit of scuttlebutt about the fact that this vehicle, especially with the price that it's at, could possibly cannibalize sales from the current liftback. What's the go-to in respect to how this is going to be treated in the sales arena for Toyota?
Prius liftback has been a really strong selling vehicle, and the V is meant to be for a different choice for Canadians, giving them more space. And obviously, with 2012, we're going to be looking at a refreshed Prius liftback, and we'll consider some of the options at that point in time.
Now, we understand that, of course, Prius has been a darling for the taxi industry, but has been actually kept out of certain jurisdictions like Toronto because of the space requirements. Does the new V actually answer that, and will we see it being used in more Canadian cities as a taxi unit?
Absolutely. I think with the V and the increase in space with over 50% cargo capacity over Prius liftback, we definitely anticipate to see the fleet application of Prius V have an uptake. The versatile space as well as the increase in space for the passengers is also a benefit of the Prius V. So we definitely anticipate to see this in municipalities across Canada.
Now, being, of course, the first, in many respects, hybrid vehicle that really answers the requirements of family, let's talk about the customer and let's talk about what type of people you expect to see coming through the showroom door that maybe up until now thought that a Prius was maybe a little bit too much of a niche player.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Canadians looking at Prius liftback, they may have had the fuel conscious and environmental choice as top of mind, but now we're giving Canadians that choice to continue to save fuel, but now they can do it in a package that's a lot larger, get their family around, move their kids around, or even for people with small businesses, they can move a lot of more items around with the V.
Now, I always have to ask the question, especially as somebody who's completely in the know, immersed in the product. We're still trying to understand this new suspension, and we will say that, of course, it's an incredibly good ride, but there's actually a lot of science involved. Tell us about how it works.
Absolutely. The Prius V features the new pitch and bounce control system, and it's one of those systems that we can actually only deploy on a Toyota-designed hybrid, which is because the electric motors actually drive the vehicle. And what pitch and bounce control does is it uses the wheel speed sensors to detect road undulations. So a rough road, rough pavement, or pitching and bouncing of the cabin, and it'll actually adjust motor torque to reduce the pitching sensation on the cabin. And it's in a minute area, but it actually makes the Prius V handle really, really well, and it's a flat road feel.
It sounds as though it's actually taking care of those annoying lurches, and it's certainly something we've experienced in a lot of other cars.
Yeah. It's in a lot of larger sized vehicles. You'll get that feeling in compact SUVs and whatnot. And pitch and bounce control really takes the hybrid Synergy Drive system to the next level by offering this flat road feeling for the cabin compartment.
The next level for family vehicles is here, the Prius V. Vin Pham, thank you for being on the road trip.
Thank you.
Michael Clark from the road trip, still in